Rev Donna Maurer. I'm the spiritual leader of the Sonoran Desert Center for Spiritual Living in Amado, Arizona. And we're here on YouTube. I have our music director, Heather O'Day, and Melinda Mutch, who is our practitioner of the day. And we do thank you so much for sharing your time with us. And now I ask Heather to ring the bells that open our service.
I am Melinda, and I'm your practitioner today. Welcome to our inspirational message. We are here to keep you spiritually grounded into the knowingness of divine mind. And now, let us prepare ourselves to receive the music and the message by simply taking a breath intentionally, opening our mind intentionally, opening our heart intentionally. Every part of me is now wide open, ready to receive and enjoy. We are so glad you're here with us. We love bringing you these weekly messages to inspire, to connect, to appreciate. Namaste.
It's a new month, and that means new music. I'm going to start our month of September off with a theme about learning our way back home. We know this song. We know and love it by Rainbow Spirit of Oregon. Let the way of the heart, let the way of the heart, let the way of the heart shine through. Love upon love upon love. All hearts are beating as one. Light upon light upon light, shining as bright as the sun. Let the way of the heart, let the way of the heart, let the way of the heart shine through. Love upon love upon love. All hearts are beating as one. Light upon light upon light, shining as bright as the sun. Let the way of the heart, let the way of the heart, let the way of the heart shine through.
Well, we do have a new music for the month, and we have a new theme for the month of September. I'm calling it Finding Our Way. I was watching Jurassic Park for about the umpteenth time, but this time I was captivated by the scene where Dr. Ian Malcolm is discussing the protections for the park. A scientist tells him that all the dinosaurs are female and cannot breed, so the population is secure. He says, we control their chromosomes. It's not that difficult. All vertebrate embryos are inherently female anyway. It takes an extra hormone at the right developmental stage to create a male, and we simply deny them that. Well, Dr. Malcolm looks at the owner of the park, John Hammond, and says, John, the kind of control you're attempting is not possible. If there's one thing the history of evolution has taught us, it's that life will not be contained. Life breaks free. It expands to new territories. It crashes through barriers, painfully, maybe even dangerously. And well, there it is. And the scientist counters, you're implying that a group of composed entirely of females will breed? And Dr. Malcolm replies, I'm simply saying that life finds a way. And of course it does, as later evidenced by the discovery of empty eggshells. So to go with our theme, Finding Our Way, I've chosen Life Finds a Way as our topic this morning. You know, when we think about it, with everything that we've been hit with since March, we should really all be insane by now. But we're not. And we're not because life finds a way. Life finds a way to go on. Life finds a way to maneuver around obstacles. Life finds a way into the light, no matter how dark things seem. And you and I are finding our way through this pandemic. We are numbed by the number of coronavirus cases there are and the number of deaths that continue to rise. For our protection, we're staying home as much as possible. Pardon me. We are observing social distancing. We are wearing masks. We carry our hand sanitizer in our purse or glove compartment. And as much as we'd love to hug each other, we don't. Additionally, we're finding our way through a racial inequality crisis that is showing up in so many American cities and suburbs. We've seen the violence on television, the shootings, the rioting. And no matter what side of the fence we may be on, these images are disturbing and heartbreaking. We see that so many people are out of work, facing an uncertain future, wondering how they're going to keep their home and be able to feed their families. We're facing a contentious political battle for our presidency. With all of this going on, I just heard about murderer hornets that have entered our country from Asia and could devastate our bee population. You know, if I were writing a book, I would title it Armageddon. And yet through all of this, we find ways to make meaning out of the senseless. We find ways to matter. We look at ways we can create good in the world, and we choose to be the light in the face of darkness. And we do this because life does find a way. It finds a way through you and through me. You know, at some level, we know that we're here for a higher purpose. And we find ways to express that purpose. It is inherent in our nature. And we find it as we express our love, our compassion, our connections in only the way that we can do. Our founder, Dr. Ernest Holmes, tells us we are born with an urge to express life. We are born with a desire to unite our living with others, to enjoy people, and to live creatively. It seems as though something dynamic entered into us when we were born, an impulse to participate in the joy of living and to give vent to those thoughts and feelings, those emotional urges and impulses, which everyone has. We all have a need to find meaning in our lives. With the restrictions due to the pandemic, this might not be the time to look for a great purpose. You know, my husband, John, loved his job, but when he had to work from home without the interaction of the staff and the people he loved, his job no longer brought him joy. And so at age 80, he decided to retire. And of course, that change brought a bit of depression and a sense of uncertainty. And he told me he needed a new purpose. And I suggested that perhaps this was not the time to look for a grand purpose, but to find and appreciate small purposes. And that's what we're both doing. What small purpose is in front of me today? What small thing can I do that brings joy to others and meaning to my life? I was rereading Man's Search for Meaning, Viktor Frankl's account of his life in the Auschwitz concentration camp. And he said that people who survived were the ones that held on to a meaning for their lives. He and his wife were separated when they came to the camp, but he would hold deep conversations with her in his mind. When he was stripped of everything, it was the love that he held onto that gave him meaning and purpose to go on, even not knowing if his wife were dead or alive. There is a resiliency to all of life. There is an urgency to express. We see it in the plant growing through a tiny crack in the sidewalk. We see it in the stream that flows around rocks that would impede its flow. This past Sunday, as we sat in the garden after meditation, several of us watched as a tiny ant carried a feather about 20 times its size across the patio to some unknown destination. And resiliency and urge to express shows up most magnificently in the human spirit. Today, it is apparent in the way we're coping with the pandemic. And we at the center, as well as churches and centers everywhere, have had to make our way through Zoom, YouTube, and Facebook Live as we move from a physical spiritual home to a virtual one. And our members are having to adapt as well as we find ways to connect without physical contact. One of the things that we're doing is we're learning that what is truly important. COVID has slowed us down. So many of us more time in meditation, in spiritual practices that bring us back to our roots. We're appreciating the small things, like a cup of coffee on the patio, like a special phone or Zoom conversation with family or friends. You know, John and I meet regularly on Zoom with our grandchildren, and we are having some wonderful conversations with them. And because they are stuck to a screen, there are fewer things to distract them in our conversations than if we were actually there. One of our members told us that her purpose is to connect with her millennial grandchildren. They are sharing their technical knowledge with her, and she is sharing her wisdom of experience with them. And they all have developed a true bond of love and respect. And because we're using new technology, many of us are watching other ministers who broadcast on YouTube as we do. Reverend Dr. Edward Villon from the Santa Rosa Center really helped me this week when he said, I know what I'm supposed to do. I know what I'm supposed to think. But sometimes I just want to say, stop, I'm tired, I don't want to do this anymore. You know, hearing him seemed to give me permission that it is okay to sometimes break down, to sometimes feel like giving up. And just hearing that somebody else, someone I truly respect as a spiritual leader, feels what I am feeling, gives me the strength to go on and reminds me of the resiliency that is inherent in each and every one of us. Truly, life does find a way. And I love the lines in Oriah Mountain Dreamer's poem, The Dance. She says, don't tell me how wonderful things will be someday. Show me you can risk being completely at peace, truly okay with the way things are right now, in this moment, and again in the next, and the next, and the next. I have heard enough warrior stories of heroic daring. Tell me how you crumble when you hit the wall, the place you cannot go beyond by the strength of your own will. What carries you to the other side of that wall, to the fragile beauty of your own humanness? I believe that what carries us to the other side is that insistent urge of life upon itself. Dr. Malcolm's words, life will not be contained. It breaks free, it expands to new territories, it crashes through barriers. There it is, life finds a way. And so we find a way to move through our depression. We find ways to cope with the uncertainty of the times that we are living in. We find those ways, those small purposes to bring meaning to our lives. And we find that we can crumble. And through that inner resilience, that steadfast faith in life itself, we are carried to the other side, to the fragile beauty of our own humanness. And that's because that we are more than human. You know, Ernest Holmes says it is normal to have faith. It is natural to believe in God. It is right to love people and good to praise everything, because hidden in everything is a seed of perfection. The great experiment is in our own mind here, in the integrity of our own soul, in the simplicity of our own heart. We can prove what the ages have longed for, lived for, and prayed for, that at last, though we have not known it and the world has not suspected it, divinity has temporarily clothed itself in humanity. Life and God are synonymous. The life that is within us is the one life of God expressing uniquely as you and me. That is the truth of who and what we are. You and I are divinity, temporarily clothed in the beauty of our own humanness. And Ernest Holmes also tells us our divine nature never deserts us. Like the prodigal son, we may wander into far countries of despair, but the divinity within us ever gently urges us back to the center of our true being. It ever reminds us of its presence. And if we permit it, the spiritual self will direct our every decision with intelligence and make perfect our way before us. What we know is that even when we hit the wall, even when we crumble, something greater than we are carries us safely to the other side. In our moments of despair, we are reminded that we are one with life, one with love, one with God, and our despair is gently changed into that peace that passes all understanding. And from that peace, we take a deep breath and begin again with renewed energy, hope, and joy. And it's then that we can look back at all of the times that we were at that wall and how we have come back, because this is what we do. And often we find a depth within us that we didn't know was there. How many times have our darkest nights been the catalyst for our greatest transformations? So with renewed faith and trust in God and in ourselves, we return to focusing on that which is good in our lives. We find ways to give of ourselves. We find ways to bring meaning and purpose into our hearts. And no matter what is happening at the present moment, we are assured that life will not be contained. It will break free. It will expand to new territories. It will crash through barriers, because God always finds a way. Thank you. Namaste.
Sometimes I forget where I come from. Sometimes I forget where I'm going to. Sometimes I get so confused, I lose my way. Sometimes I know you feel the same. There is nowhere that God is not. There is nowhere that God is not. There is nowhere that Lord is not. Everywhere I am, I know what I got. Sometimes I believe in what I say. Sometimes I believe what I perceive. Sometimes I get so confused, I lose my way. Sometimes I know you feel the same. There is nowhere that God is not. There is nowhere that God is not. There is nowhere that God is not. Everywhere I am, I know myself until I forgave myself. I forgot to ask for help, forgot to say a word. I forgot to believe in me until I knew my spirit well. There is nowhere that God is not. There is nowhere God is not. There is nowhere that God is not. Everywhere I am, I know what I got. Everywhere I am, I know what I got. Everywhere I am, I know what I got. And that was There Is Nowhere That God Is Not by Jamie Lula.
Thank you, Heather. That was great. And thank you for joining us today. We would like to continue our messages with you and would greatly appreciate your financial support. Please visit our website, cslaz.org, and click on the donate button. And we do truly thank you for your consideration. And now I turn our service over to Melinda for our closing affirmative prayer.
And in closing this inspirational message time, I'd like to thank Heather and Rev Donna for keeping me tuned in to the divinity that I am. And let us pray. I remember not only the good of life that energizes the power of renewal, I remember the not so good thoughts that block my flow. I name them, I claim them, in order to release them back into the core of the earth to be transformed. In doing so, I am cleansed and ready to receive the good life offers. New growth pushes up through the hard crust of doubt and fear and proves that life never ends. Each plant finds a way to grow again, and so shall I. I shall grow tall and strong and bloom every color of the rainbow. I refuse to be smothered. I allow the energy of life itself to create happiness as a prominent emotion. I accept the gifts of balance and joy. Letting go of that which is not my true self gives way to that which is. Welcome, divine glory. Come and stay a while. And so it is. And yes, it is so. Namaste.